Hi, my name's Sian James and I'm speaking for Life, the basic manual. This clip is for anybody who finds themselves in the position of being the carer for a member of your family or for a loved one. This is a mission I've flown a few times. The most impactful in terms of my own life and my own health was caring for my father when he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer 6 years ago. He was a very determined guy, my dad. He really wanted as little professional input as possible. He absolutely wanted to die in his own home, and he wanted to maintain as much autonomy and dignity as he could in the process. I made the decision to resign my job and I moved in with him, and I provided his palliative care in the months leading up to his life. It's not a decision I have ever regretted, but certainly it's a decision that I can see in retrospect was costly in terms of my own health. So this is a clip really that's kind of focusing on some of the stuff that maybe I could have done better and some of the stuff that I think I did okay with. So under the heading of stuff I could have done better, I found it difficult with a family member to walk the line between my own suffering at watching somebody I love die and their own suffering in the process of terminal illness. One of the things I think that would have really helped me would have been to talk to more people outside of the situation about just how difficult it was. I had a good support network when I went into the process, and I talked to people throughout it, but I didn't really use that support network to its fullest. Ideally, I think in retrospect, I would have spoken to somebody outside the situation at least once a day, because it was a very enclosed situation. A lot of the time I was in my dad's house, I was looking after him. He didn't really want to see anybody or have any visitors, so I also acted as a buffer between him and the outside world. And that started to feel very, very, very claustrophobic. So I think I should have spoken to more other people about just how emotionally draining the situation was. Another thing that I think I could have done better, I could have fed myself better. I was very focused on feeding my father food that he felt capable of eating. He wasn't hungry, he only ever wanted to eat small amounts, and quite specific foods would tempt him. In terms of actually looking after myself and feeding myself healthy, nourishing food, I did pretty poorly. I was always caught up in a moment. I was trying to manage crisis. I was rushing out, getting medication from the GP or whatever it was. I didn't necessarily look after myself very well. The third thing I think I could have done better, I could have pressed for more help at home. I had no nursing care other than a district nurse who popped in once or twice. I would have done better had I got more sleep in the situation and had I worked the system better to have more people in the house. What prevented me from doing that, of course, was my father's reluctance to have anybody else in the house. But I can see now that I needed to have better balanced his desires for the situation to be a certain way and my own physical, mental and emotional needs. So in short, I should have looked after myself better, I should have got more help, and I should have talked more about the experience with those I trusted. Things I think I did well. I was a good advocate for my father. I was a good buffer between him and the medical profession. I read about his condition, I researched his condition, I talked to people about what might help him best deal with his symptoms and his pain. I was attentive, I was focused, and some of the time I managed to find the place within myself that was about compassion rather than that awful, heart-rending, self-pitying anguish that we often feel when somebody that we love is suffering. And I do believe that I gave my father his dignity to the best of my ability. I didn't do it perfectly. There were moments when I became very frustrated. There were moments when I was very tired. There were moments when it was difficult to carry on. But I did do it, and I haven't ever felt sorry for that. I'm glad I was there. He managed to die at home. I was with him right up until the very end. And actually I chose to follow an old Welsh custom and be a part of laying him out with the undertaker, having his body lying in the house for 3 days before we then went forward to the cremation and funeral. It felt like a much more intimate process in terms of dying and of death. So I guess ultimately my takeaway from this is, don't be afraid to do it if that's what you feel is the right thing to do, but do get the right help, do look after yourself, and do make sure that you pace yourself. This was a situation when I was looking after a terminal patient. It would have been very different if I was looking after a family member who had dementia or another long-term condition. I would have needed to have paced myself and the situation differently. Now, I know that many of you out there will have had similar experiences, and I would love to hear what helped you and what hindered you in this process, and what suggestions you can make to other people who may be contemplating undertaking this task. So do let me know, and thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to our free YouTube channel, Life, the Basic Manual.